If I could go back in time and go down that path, that same mission to be the number one brand, the number one provider, getting the number one outcomes in my county, what would I do different? I would have not tried to be the jack of all trades. I would have not tried to do that. I would have not tried to be so cheap and save money and not, when I was playing competitive soccer and I had a personalized coach, that coach's job or impact on me was that he enabled me through his coaching and his push to play outside my comfort zone at a higher level than I ever could have played if left to my own accord. So when I look at private practice, if I could go back and do it all again, I would have brought on a coach or somebody. I would have connected myself to someone. And as a matter of fact, when I did, my life changed. But I would have done it earlier, because what happened was they had more experience, more vision, more knowledge. And so what I stumbled on, or what brought me pause, or how I calculated whether I should do A or B, I was making those decisions on infantile amounts of knowledge and experience. I should have benefited from other people's knowledge and experience earlier on. I would have gotten where I wanted to go much faster, much quicker. I mean, there were 2 times, Mike, where I spent all night in my clinic and my wife brought me a change of clothes and she's like, "You're such an embarrassment. Here's clothes. You got to get changed. You can't go treating, it's Tuesday. You can't treat in the same clothes you had on Monday. Patients are going to know, like, you didn't shower. I'm like, I'll just brush my hair. I'm fine." She's like, "How could you stay all night in the clinic?" I said, "I had to get this done. I had to do that." I literally thought I was doing the right thing by working harder and longer, and it was the absolute wrong thing. We should focus on what we're best geared for, and that is physical therapy. Let somebody else do bookkeeping. Let somebody else do billing. Let somebody else do the legal. Outsource. Just focus on your craft and enabling everybody else around you to be really good at their craft.
How do you hone in on the things that you're good at? Like, I mean, it's difficult to kind of analyze yourself, right? Is it asking other people? Is it just like taking a toll of like what patients are telling you? How do you figure out like what you're good at? Because you may find that you're a okay clinician, but you're actually a good business owner, or vice versa. Maybe you're a good, really great clinician. You have hopes of being a good business owner, but you're not a good business owner. You're not good at like dictating and building a team and so forth. So like, how do you figure out actually what you're good at so you can actually do this successfully?
Okay, that's a great question. And it's a little bit of both. Have a gut check, sit down and write down for yourself, what makes you happiest? What do you enjoy the most? Typically, those align with things that you're really good at, because that's what brings you great joy and great pleasure, right? The next thing is survey those people around you. Give categories and have them score it with a number, what they see, what they've observed that you're really good at or not, right? And then take that into account and realize what you're really trying to evaluate. Because if you're in this profession and you're trying to move forward into private practice, let's say, it's going to take 3 main characteristics for you to be successful. And you're some combination of them percentage wise. What percent of your beingness is devoted to being a good entrepreneur? What percent of your character is devoted to being a good manager? What percent of your character is devoted to being a strong, good clinician? I knew I was high in the clinician area. I knew I was like, next new idea. I was like, Mr. Entrepreneur, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, squirrel, let's get into this. Let's get into that, right? What I came to find out was I was a really good people person. Like, I like people, I communicate effectively. I'm thoughtful and caring and all that, is, as people would say. I'm not trying to push myself up, but I'm answering the question. But I'm a terrible manager. I'm terrible organizer. I'm terrible at the detail follow-up I like to tell somebody, you need to go do these 3 things and have it done by 4:00 Friday. And I don't want to go check on them at 3:30 and see how it's going. So I had to have systems in place that would do that for me, because I like to just assume that everyone's going to be accountable and responsible, but not everybody is. And that's what a manager does. They hold the lines, they hold the policies and procedures in place, they hold the structure in place. So what I found is, even now, all these years later in business, those people that are closest to me are like anal retentive little school teachers. Oh my God. They organize Tupperware, they alphabetize vitamins. Just examples in their personal life, but they keep everything very in its place around me and very organized, and everything's on schedule. Even like you booking this with me, you talk to Rachel and then Jen handles my schedule. And, I don't do that stuff. I'm not good at that stuff. That's not who I am. I'm like, okay, next new idea. Let's make this a reality. Right. So I think knowing who you are, I think this question of the whole podcast, I think is probably the most important question you asked me, because I think if you don't really know who you are and you don't really know what you're good at and what you're not so good at, you really are going to be the victim of those weaknesses and those strengths. And here's the thing too, spend more time on your strengths than you do on your weaknesses. Get better at your weaknesses. Don't ignore them, but don't devote a whole lot of time to them. Outsource it, surround yourself with people who can shore up your weaknesses. Go for what you're good at.